Hello and welcome to the RTO Show. I'm your host, Pete Shau, and today we're talking to somebody who I've been dying to talk to for a long time. I'm going to tell you right now, Ben, I've been trying to talk to you for a long time. So I've got Ben Leach on from Ace Rent to Own in Nebraska. And listen, they have been in this game a very long time. As a matter of fact, one of their legends, Dad, Lynn Leach, has been the #1 episode so far in the Legend series that's come out. We are doing this on Thanksgiving week because we wanted to say, hey guys, we appreciate everything you do and we want to be thankful for you. Ben, I'm glad that you made it. I'm glad that you were able to come on. First off, let me thank you for having the time to do this because you are the new COO of Ace Rent to Own. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. And I appreciate you having me on, Pete. I was looking forward to it. We talked back at RTO World and I've been looking forward to it ever since.
So, just to make sure that we get this right, Ben goes, hey man, you got to let me step into the role a little bit because I got a lot to do. Let me get my feet wet. And I'm like, I totally understand that. Being Ben Leach, you have cut your own way. You didn't make it to CEO because you didn't deserve it. But there is a question that I've got to ask, and it will come up a little bit later. But not only do you have the family legacy, not only do you have now a leadership role because the operations is 100% leadership, something that you guys do very well at Ace Rent to Own. You got Black Friday coming up. We're entering the holiday season full steam. We're almost a few days away from Black Friday. Woo, we'll talk about that a little bit too. And at the end, I just want you guys to know, we're going to do a quick round of questions just to find out what's behind Ben's hood. We're going to find out what's going on over there in the new COO. So listen, I want to talk to you first about in the beginning. How is it being a second generation rent own, COO behind somebody like your father, Lynn Leach?
Well, I'll tell you that it's equal parts great and equal parts nerve-wracking, right? Like I learned from one of the best and spent my whole life growing up around him in and outside of the business. But alongside that comes with replicating what he's done and carrying that torch forward and continuing to grow the business like he grew it and treat employees the way that he treated them and treat clients the way that he treated them. And, the bar has been set really high. But the good news is I learned from the one that set the bar high. So, it comes with both sides of that.
So when you're doing this, because this is what I want to know, right? Because you're right. Lynn's been able to come in. He's got his take on it, right? He comes from when his father helped him out. He gets into this. He's been doing this a long time. Now comes Ben. Now here's the question. What is your mark when you're starting to do this, right? And you have this bar, you know what Dad does. You've seen it in action. Where is the mark that Ben leaves? What is it that Ben wants to like, hey, I'm here and this is what you can expect from Ben. Or let me say the COO, Ben, versus what you've been there. Like it's going to be, obviously you want it to be the great, what you've had. It's been good. We're going to take care of you. There's that loyalty. There's a camaraderie. There's collaborations together as you and the people together. But where is that mark? Where is Ben going to be a little bit different than Dad?
Well, I think not necessarily different, but one thing that I'm highly focused on, have been since I came back, is making sure. I mean, it's the core to our mission statement, which is basically treat the employees right, so that they in turn will treat your customers or your clients correctly. And they'll return, and in both sides of that, treat your employees so well that they love working for you and they want to stay for years and years. And then in turn, they will treat your clients so well that they want to, keep doing business with you for years and years. And that is always the question that I try to ask myself is, are we doing the right thing for the employees? And are we giving them the tools that allow them to do the right things for the clients? So as far as what I've sort of hopefully shared with employees that they would tell you the same thing, is that I listen to them and I want to make sure that anything that we can change that empowers them to do better for our clients and to have that work-life balance that everybody talks about, while we still get stuff done at work, but let them, empower their families and do what they want to do at home, that the rest will take care of itself. Obviously, we have to focus on revenues and collections and sales and, all that stuff is important to making sure the business grows, but you can't do any of that if you don't have employees that carry your mission forward.
Well, you're carrying this mission forward. Now I got to ask, what was it like growing up in the family with the rent to own? I mean, do you have stories of like running around the store at the beginning and kind of making sure you didn't drop over the lamps and stuff like that? I mean, how was it back then? How did it work? How was growing up in a family that meant so much to the RTO space now?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many stories that I could tell you about it, but I think the thing that some of the employees that have been with us for a long time remember are opening up new stores. I would be the story is that I was, 8 years old or maybe younger when I was first building coffee ends as we opened up, got ready to open up a new store, and going to stores with my parents. And, while I was there, if I had told them I was bored, I would get handed a bottle of Windex and a paper towel ring and like, okay, well, go do some cleaning. So I was always in the business since I can ever remember, and then eventually got added to the payroll when I was 16 and could drive to work and, go out and visit clients and do all that stuff. So I formally joined the business when I was 16 and could get there myself, but I was doing stuff for the company long before that. So
When I was younger, right, I first started my first job when I was 16, and the one thing that manager told me that I will never forget. My first job was at Burger King, and I walked in, and like 5 minutes into it, she was like, "Yeah, I just want you to know, if you have time to lean, you got time to clean." And I was like, what does that mean? Let me show you. So, putting together things. I mean, I just want to ask a side question. How many Allen wrenches did you end up with in your lifetime?
oh boy, a lot.
Dude, I used to come home with those things in my pockets and everything. I'm putting tables together, and all of a sudden I got like 10 of them. Like, what is this? So, what made you decide? Dad's in the business. You're running around. You're building tables. You're kind of learning this literally from bottom to top, from growth and everything. But what made you decide you wanted to follow in those footsteps? I mean, just because you did that didn't mean that you had to, right? You at some point inside had to say, you know what, Dad, myself, Ben, like, hey, I think I want to do this. I think I want to go down this road, and kind of be my own. This is going to be my career. What made you decide that after all this?
Well, it was kind of a long decision, I'll tell you that. So when I graduated college, I actually left the business and I was gone for a little over 10 years. And the
Traitor.
yeah,
You're a
yeah.
traitor. You left us.
The whole time I was gone, there was, when I left, I didn't have intentions not to return, and I didn't have intentions to return. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that I wanted to go out and see what else was out there and sort of make my own way in the world. I didn't want to just
Absolutely.
have Ace be, it was my first job at 16, and I didn't want that to be my whole career without ever seeing anything else. And I'm very glad that I left. And likewise, I'm even more glad that I returned. So along the way, I had always kind of thought as I got, as the years went by that I was outside of the company, that thought was always in the back of my mind, should I go back? And what would that look like, going back? And so we started to, have more serious conversations probably around 3 years ago about me returning back to the company and what that would look like. And I was able to bring back what I learned from leaving the company. Most of the time that I was gone, you could summarize to that I was in the software space. I was recruiting software developers, my first job out of college, for about 3 or 4 years. And then I sold software and then supported the software and took over, managing a team of coaches for software. And so I came back with that experience of what software looks like in the workplace. And I, for a while, even coached construction business owners how to make software run their businesses better. So I got a lot
Wow.
of experience in both how to run a business from, being the kid on the other side of the phone, teaching this 50-year-old contractor that's been running a business forever how he could make his business better, just using the
Are we gonna
software.
have like a meta? Are we gonna have like a meta X RTO now? Because you have all this software ideas and building and stuff. What's gonna happen at Ace?
No, I can tell you, I haven't really brought too much software into the company. I have, you know, leaned further into the software that we already have. Let's use emails a little bit more than phone calls, and let's let's use Excel to manage some projections of the business and things like that. That was already happening when I came back, but I think I've helped the company lean into what we can do to just work faster and smarter while we work harder. That's not going away anytime, but
Yeah.
um all that experience I came back with, and I worked for a giant international company, and then I worked for you could say a startup. It was around 300 employees when I started, and when I left, it was well over 1,000. So I watched that
Oh
company
wow.
completely boom and grow so fast that that those pain struggles of growth uh, gave me some insight too to bring back to the company. So all those things together is why I'm glad that I left, but I'm so glad to be back and work with people that I worked with when I was here before. I mean, a lot of those employees are still around, and catching up with them over the last couple of years that I've been back. And then, figuring out, like you said, what can I do to make my mark, and how do I carry the torch forward to make sure that Ace Rent to Own keeps growing the way that it has, under my dad's leadership.
I'll tell you what, you are part of a very select group. There is a second generation coming up through the ranks, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But I mean, you have the ability to not only have this core value that's come with you for so many years, but as dad comes and takes a little bit of a step back and you have that ability to step forward. I mean, one thing I've always said about Rent-A-Own, I love Rent-A-Own. I love it to my core. We always seem to be on the back end of the bell curve when it comes to forward thinking on technology and some of the things that we're doing. I just think that we should have maybe a little bit better software, a little bit better integrated internet, as far as like, you know, how our essence is online. I think we could just do better than that. And I think with you and, you know, the Chris Crail Juniors and the Mike Tissets and, you know, Gary Fairman's son, I think you guys are going to usher that in. I'd love to see that. We'll talk about it a little bit more, but as you're doing it, you're seeing this. And then you get to go out. You get to spend 10 years away, which is awesome, because I really do believe that being away, you also get to look back reflectively and go, this is good, or this is not good, or I want to change that, or this could be better, or you know what, I really missed that because this was like amazing and I'm not getting that somewhere else, which is usually the relationship piece. But like, what's some of the lessons that you learned growing up to like that 16-year-old Mark, and then the Ben who ends up leaving home and going out for 10 years? What's some of that, you know, you look at it from 10 years, that 10 years thing, and go, you know what, this was something that I missed. This was something that was great that we did as a family, that we did as Ace Rent-A-Own, that I'm not seeing here.
Tell you, I think one of the things that I missed the most, I enjoyed, you know, the thrill of climbing a corporate ladder. But along with that comes all the politics of, you know, making sure that you have the right friends in the right areas and making the right bets on who you should, you know, network with within the company. And like, there's all that nuance that just is, you know, it's thrilling, but it's also a waste of time. And at a family business and at a smaller business, you always have some of that, but it's not the same. You know, you know who the leaders of the company are, you know them personally. And so I, you know, now being one of the leaders of the company, enjoy meeting with those employees and figuring out what their goals are. Some of their goals are, I want to be an assistant manager, right? Like, I don't really want to run a store. I like making sales. I like doing collections, but I don't want the rest of it. Some of them, day one, they're saying, how fast can I get into management? When can I take over my own store? And, you know, the managers, some of them are happy. Some of them want to become district managers. Some of the district managers want to know, well, what's next? What positions are getting created in the company that I could take over that don't exist yet? And I think that is what I really missed. And alongside of that, the relationship with the customers, I had it deeply when I was in the store full time before I left the company. But even those customers are still around, right? When I go back to the store that I worked at all through college, a lot of the same names are on those lists of, you know, the potential leads and the collection report. And like a lot of those names still, you know, go down memory lane for me. And you just don't get that in a big corporate world. You don't have the 30-year employee that, you know, some of them I've known for probably my whole life, right? Like, they watched me build coffee end sets at 8 years old. And so you just don't, that full family feel, you know, we call it the Ace Rent-A-Own family. And that's not unique to us in the rent-to-own space, because we are such a tight-knit group, both within our own companies. Like, every company that I meet with at RTO World, Meeting of the Minds, et cetera, they all have that same feel where their employee base is their family. And then when you go to RTO World and you go and you talk to other trim vendors and you talk to people in APRO, that's another family. And we were able to bring a lot more people to RTO World this year because it was in Omaha, it was in our backyard. And so watching some of those district managers and store managers see that widened perspective in their eyes for the first time of like, oh my God, like, there's so many people that do the same things that we do and they have the same problems we have. And it's all like, we're all in it together and we're all rowing the same boat. And
Ben, you get to go to this every day and all the time, and I miss this. You didn't take me. No, yeah, I would tell you, when I first went, it opened my eyes to a whole different side. I had been it for many, many years, and I really had no idea who April was. I had no idea who Trip was. I had no idea who all these people were. And like, my buy-in really did come in the first time I went, and I was just like, oh my God, who are these people? What's going on? Like, that guy is like, he knows everybody, and who is this? And I gotta say, one of the first people that I did meet was Mike Tissot. If that'll tell you anything about how everything else followed that. Hard act to follow, but it was great to meet him first. But it was just one of those things, and I remember my first hot show, and your dad was up there, sold, and I was just like, man, I missed all this. It's got to be great, to be in the position you are now, to bring those people to that and kind of pull them forward and show them what you get to, see and be a part of now. Within that 10 years, though, flipping a little bit, within that 10 years, that you grew up in rent-to-own, the positivity and all the relationships and all the people that you've built and seen and grown with during that time frame. Did you also get to see that moniker that sometimes people feel rent-to-own in its many different ways? It's like, but that's rent-to-own. It's like, you don't know anything about rent-to-own, but they have this negative idea about it because they feel like, it's not credit-based. That's not the transaction that we like. Did you see any of that in your 10 years out?
Yeah, I did. No, I didn't talk to a lot of people about rent to own while I was gone. It just didn't come up. But for sure that, when they found out who my dad was, and they're like, oh, well, I've seen him in commercials. I see your guys' businesses or stores all around. And it would come up then, right? And that is something that I think that for, me and the rest of second generation folks and anybody that's in the business today, it's the same struggle that we're fighting that my parents fought before me and everybody else, that started the industry fought before me, is that rent to own has this connotation of, oh, well, it's small payments, but they pay way more for it along the way. And they don't know all the things that we do where we're servicing that stuff. We're giving free delivery. We're letting clients switch stuff out if either they need to step down into a cheaper product because they, lost a job or had a new baby in the family and they can't afford what they could afford before. Or the more exciting flip of that coin is, I've had a 50-inch TV and now I want to upgrade it to a 98-inch TV.
Exactly.
You can do that in our industry and you can't do that anywhere else. And service issues are never fun, but we treat clients way better than if I called, Best Buy and said my washer and dryer went out that I bought from you a year ago. They're going to say, well, here's a 1-800 number to Whirlpool. Good luck. I wish you all the best. And
I'm sorry to hear that, Ben. You're going to have to figure that one out.
And we also sell new ones. So if Whirlpool can't take care of you, we are still selling washers.
You don't need service. You need another expensive set. That's what you need. Hi, I'm Pete Shau. You may know me from the RTO Show podcast, but today I'm doing something a little bit different. Apro and Wow Brands have launched a special project to bring the story of our industry to life like never before. They've asked me to sit down with some of the true legends of rent-to-own, capturing their stories, their impact, and their vision for the future. And now, I get to share those conversations with you straight from the legends themselves. All of this leads to something groundbreaking, though. A new book, The Rent-to-Own Revolution, A Definitive History of Advocacy and Consumer Access, written by Apro CEO Charles Smitherman and Wow Brands CEO Brian Krass. The book explores the grassroots of RTO, the advocacy that has defined it, and the future that we're building together. Here's where you come in. We're giving away free copies once the book is released. Just head over to the RTORevolution.com and sign up for a chance to receive a copy in early 2026. Don't miss the chance to be among the first to hold this piece of RTO history. That's RTORevolution.com. Check it out and become a part of RTO history. So I got to know. You're 16, they officially put you on. So you're not going to ask me to do it beforehand because we know that you could put some tables together. I just wonder if everyone, when Ben walks into the showroom, everyone's like, get the tables good. He knows how to do that. No, but like as you turn 16 and you get that first job, what was the first job?
I was what we called at the time a rental clerk, customer service associate, delivery driver, hybrid, basically do whatever the store needs to be done. But most of that is, it was still clean that washer that came back, clean that refrigerator, go, knock on some doors for the collections managers so that they can make phone calls, do a delivery, a little bit of everything, but it was the behind the scenes work that keeps the stores running. And it really wasn't until I was, gosh, I don't remember now, maybe I was in high school, but I think I was in college when I first stepped into more of an account manager role and took on okay, I'm going to have my own route of clients and I'm going to make my own sales and I'm going to go up through the management training program just like everybody else does. But I had the benefit of working in the store for my entire life before I joined all of that. So I saw people doing that work for, 10 years while I was a little kid before I was 16 and started to do it all for myself. But I'm glad that I did that and came up through the company so that I know, when I talk to an account manager, I know their struggles very well. I've had the same struggles, and I'll still call a past due client. I'll still go knock on a door. I'll, whatever we need to do to all row the boat together. And I think that's what's important to employees, and it's important to clients, that it's not just, oh, well, who's the owner of this place? I don't know. I think it's this guy that I've never talked to. I've never met. Like, they all know us, both the clients and the employees. There's no secrets anywhere. So.
Yeah, this 16-year-old kid, he's like a 10-year vet. He knows the business better than we all do.
I will say, I think that was a unique struggle. If you're a 16, 18-year-old kid that's knocking on somebody's door saying, hey, you owe $152 for your past due washer dryer, hearing that out of the lips of a 16-year-old, it's a little bit different. And that was a struggle to get people to take me seriously when I'm knocking on their door or trying to sell them a washer dryer in the store. Do you even know what you're doing? You're just a young kid. And it's like, well, yeah, I've been around a little bit.
I really know what I'm doing. I might have more experience in my business than you do. So talking about that, or the early memories, and because, how valuable is that to really learn as you're growing through the business, to be a part of it and to really see this up front and personal as you're growing, as you're grinning, a lot of people, my first job was at 16. I think, you're having your job earlier and being able to be a part of the family, that's got to give you a leg up like nobody's business. And it's great to see that you've made it. You've come back and put all of this experience to good use. Tell me, what's something I got to know? What's something you have at 16, you already got years of experience. You're going to be there for a little while longer, then you go up to college. But what's something that happened in those early years that you're like, man, that was an experience that helped kind of shape me, guide me? Somebody said something to you and you're like, that never left me. Like what's something that you would say, God, that was a good moment. That was a good part, a good memory.
Well, I think it was the saddest I was to leave the clients. Like, I had great employees that I had worked with forever, but everybody has that in every job, like a best friend, coworker, that kind of stuff. So I was sad to leave those people when I left the business, but I was even more sad to leave the clients, because it's people that I had worked with for years and saw them grow their families and saw them, get married or move into a house out of an apartment for the first time, and, struggled with them the time that they lost their job, and how do we keep this stuff in your house and, keep you moving forward with us to where you're not, having to return things. So how do we do that? And so it's so unique to the rent to own space that we are salespeople, we're collections managers, we're all these things, but we're deeply ingrained in their lives because they're with us for years. And so we see all these growth moments that happen in their lives and we're with them for it. And so to then leave and go like out on my own path, that was the sad part, is to leave them and like, I won't be there for the next kid or the, whatever's next in their life. And that was sad for me. And it's the thing that's the most powerful part of our rent to own. I think probably everybody shares that opinion somewhere along, in their top three. But how much we help our customers. And to go back to your point, rent to own has this perception of like, oh, well, you're just there to take advantage of your clients. No, quite the opposite. Like I mentioned service, we're there for that, but we're there when they lose their job and they can't pay. A credit card company's not doing that. They're saying, well, you either pay the minimum balance or you don't. And believe me, you don't want to do the, option.
You don't want to miss, you don't want to miss that bill,
And so
sure.
that part of how we help clients is what people don't see out of rent to own, that have never, been a client, never worked in the industry. And it's the $1 million question for all of us. How do we get the person that maybe is thinking about using rent to own for the first time, or has a credit card that's dang near maxed out, but they don't even look at rent to own as an option because I don't do that. Like I'll go to Best Buy and max out my credit card, but I'm not going to go to rent to own because I won't get a good deal there. And how do we get them to understand that that's just so far from the truth? That, come experience what we have. And if you don't like it, return it. And then, you're out, you're not in debt at all. So return it when you want. If we don't treat you right, you can leave at any time. And I think that's something that we, the next generation, and just everybody in the industry, how do we get that perception that people are excited to go, use rent to own for the first time, and then see all the benefits of it once they're in the door.
Absolutely. I have a lot of people that have been on the show, but there's one person that stands out to me. Jason Winters does operations a lot. He's a rat guy. He's done a long time. And one of the things that he said was, you don't perform, you get fired. And I've had other people say that too. You don't treat your client right, they can fire you. They can go somewhere else. They can hire somebody else. Treat them right. Give them the right relationship. Give them the right respect. I love that you call them clients. I really do. I got to get better at that. You're teaching me here, Ben. I need to learn this. What's your favorite part about rent to own? Is it relationships? Is it helping customers? Because you say a lot about helping customers, and it seems like that's a passion of yours coming out of you when you say, we provide that service. We help them when things get bad. I know these people. Actually, I got to cut off just 1 second. What is one of your favorite customers' names that you remember?
Oh God, that's a really good question. I would tell you that it's probably Donna Reichschneider.
All right.
I worked with
Listen,
her
Donna, if you're watching this, Ben remembers you. Okay, I'm just
for
saying
years
that.
and years. She was one of the only clients that that we were Facebook friends, and I was Facebook friends with her daughter, who was also a client of ours. And I just always got along deeply with her. But there's other clients that were more of the always have a unique struggle and always were maxed out at how many accounts we would let them hold, and then would have struggles of like, oh, well, bills are short this month, and their bill was one of the highest weekly, totals that we had in the store. And so I'll go sit at the dinette with one of them and let's get all your agreements out on the table here and figure out what can we swap, what can we put on hold, what can we, and being that deeply ingrained. But I have a list of clients, and then that's growing too as I go to stores that, just to pop in and talk to the team there. And I've met some of those clients now in outside markets that I never really worked in when I was at the company before. Now that list of clients is growing that, I know their names, and when they come in, they're excited to see that I'm there. It's that's really fun.
Donna, we haven't forgotten about you. We haven't forgotten. So getting back to it, is it the relationship building? Is it helping customers? Is it problem solving? What is it that kind of really draws your attention? What's your favorite part of what you do on a daily basis? Because operations, you wear a lot of hats, but what is your favorite part?
Well, I think it's dealing with the clients and building those relationships. But to that point, unique to our industry, working with clients and building that relationship with them is mostly problem solving. Whether it's problem solving, is it the right time for me to get a washer dryer? I don't know if I'll be able to afford it. Or, hey, my child just had surgery and now I don't know what to do because all my bills are stacking up, and I have these hospital bills that I don't know if I can afford, the bunk bed and the washer dryer and the refrigerator. And you're sitting there looking at the list of stuff that they have with you going, none of these are wants. Every single one of these things on their list is a need. And so how do I solve the problem to keep all this stuff in their house? I cannot let the answer be, okay, you just had a really hard, your kid just got diagnosed with cancer, and so you have all these surgeries. And I need to be the guy that's not saying, well, I'm going to have my delivery crew come out there and pick up that washer dryer and take it out of your house. And now I'm going to make your life worse because you don't have a washer dryer and you have all these family problems that are stacking up against you. I'm going to be the guy that says, we'll figure it out. We'll redo the terms. We'll swap out your washer dryer. We'll do something, but I promise you that when you get home from the hospital every night, you're going to have a spot to wash your clothes and get ready for the next day. Like that. It's problem solving in a way that is so unique to rent to own, because there's just not that many industries that can help people with that deep of issues in their life and go, okay, that guy was actually there for me. And then in turn, when they're at a barbecue with their friends and somebody says, my washer dryer just went out, I don't know what I'm going to do, I can't afford to go get one, who's the first name that they're going to say? It's us. But that's the byproduct of just treating clients well. That's not why we do it, but it is really fun when that client walks in their sister for the first time and says, hey, I brought my sister in and I told her how awesome you are. And then, there's that same bar that you set so high, and you're like, well, I better not let your sister down because you just said all these good things about me.
How do I keep Ben's face off the center of the dartboard? Well, you got to change your lift bar. So what would you say has been the biggest change? You had this 10-year gap. You were there. You spent a lot of time there growing up, and then you have this 10-year gap where you get to experience life, do your own thing, have all this other experience that kind of helps build who you are, and then you come back. What would you say changed in that time frame, in that 10-year time frame from the beginning to now?
It's the fact that people don't walk in the door as often. When I
Yeah.
left, we weren't doing a whole bunch of sales calls and cold calling. I mean, it was a lot of people that just walked through the door and were pointing at things of, I want this, this, and this. And that was great. That's really easy to sell. If somebody comes in and says, I would like one washer dryer, please, you know, you better close that sale because they just walked in and told you what they want. But that's not happening as much anymore. It definitely still does. And it's because of the relationships that we have with clients that they want to come in and pay their bill in person instead of pay it online or pay it over the phone. You know, those clients are still coming in that have been with us for years. But how do we get the clients that are sitting on their couch at night, their washer just didn't run a load of laundry or something, and so they submit a lead online. We've never met them. How do I close that deal where it's not as simple as, okay, I'm online, I'm going to add my credit card and it's going to show up on my doorstep tomorrow. How do we replicate that experience in the rent to own industry is one of the other $1 million problems to solve. And I'll tell you, it's the biggest thing that I'm trying to grab a hold of since coming back, of how do we step into the new age? Clients aren't coming to us anymore. So how do we come to them? And how do we get those online clients that want that white glove experience of, well, I'm just going to click some buttons on my phone and then a sofa love is just going to be in my living room. Like you'll bring it to me. How do we close that gap compared to people walking through the door and pointing out things that they want? And in that regard too, I mean, when I left, we were still doing handwritten paper agreements, like doing all the math and writing it. And you had the carbon copies of, here's your yellow sheet, I keep the pink one, you know, like that was different coming back. We have digital agreements now. The computer does all the work for you. I can email you your contract and never have to see you. You sign it without me being there. Like that's a difference, but it's a good difference because it would be so
Right.
much harder to solve that problem of clients don't swing through the door anymore. If I have to handwrite an agreement and bring it out to you to sign it with a pen, that's going to slow me down way more than anything else. So, you know, we definitely needed it, but seeing technology come into the rent to own space even more than I left now empowers us to be able to, you know, find those clients that aren't walking through the door and pointing out six
Absolutely.
things they want.
You know, it's crazy, Ben. You just stepped back in a time portal. You don't look old enough to be saying those things, man. You just dated me a little bit. You know, you go back, you got like the triple carbon copies and stuff. But it's great that you were able to be a part of that so that you can see that difference. You know, seeing those differences and having that 10-year gap and just seeing how we've come along and obviously you want to take it a little bit further, which I really do. I call it the Amazon effect. Everybody's gotten to the Amazon effect. They want to get on their phone, boop, hit it, and I want it here in a couple of minutes. You know, I mean, you can literally get it the same day, and you're like between like 8 a.m. and 5 a.m. like, oh my God, or 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. like, who does that? But then it ends up at your door, and you're like, yeah, I like that. We got a lot to do, but like. So how did you prepare for this COO role? Now that you've got all this experience and you're seeing the differences, you're seeing what you want to bring to the table. How did you prepare for this? When, you know, and I would imagine that there was a seating, everybody sat down and said, hey, we're going to point at that guy and make him the COO, and now he's got to do it. So how did that happen? How did you prepare for it? And what do you think you've done to prepare yourself even before that they came to you and said, Ben, we think you're the right guy?
I think that there's two ways that I'll answer that. One of the ways that I continue to prepare for it is, you know, listen to podcasts, you know, go watch, you know, YouTube videos or, you know, of people doing in different industries, people that are, you know, operating the same way, or how do you clean up operations, or how do you fix what's not working? How do you relate to people? Like I try to read more and more every day and find time for that, which is incredibly hard. As far as inside the business, how did I get ready for the role? Some of it was when I was coming back, we're starting to talk about what stair steps do we want? What will this look like when I come back to the company? And when I came back, I was the regional manager is the title that I had. And basically that was sitting just above the district managers to help them run their districts. And a lot of that hasn't changed. I'll tell you, one of the biggest struggles I've had since trying to step out of that and be at corporate more and do more planning for what we need to change and bring in new ideas and different ways of doing things. Finding the time to do that and step out of stores has been hard because, I mean, I've talked about it a lot this whole time that you and I have been speaking. I love the clients and I love, you know, the
Yeah.
employees and rolling up your sleeves and being with them and doing that, that's something that I miss as I step more into the corporate leadership, side of the business. But coming back, that was my main goal for the first 2 years, is go out to the stores, meet all the employees, and kind of do all the jobs again, get that 10 years of dust knocked off. That what is collections like, and some of that was different. Like when I left, we were doing paper chase cards. You would write down the date and home number, voicemail, right? Like,
Yeah.
but now we have a computer that does
Right.
all that. So,
Right.
learning the new way that we're doing all the same things that we've been doing for years and years, but meeting all the employees. And I think that was really important, to go out, and so that it wasn't just, oh, this kid came back. Yeah, his last name matches the one that leads the company, and so he's just going to come back and run it. And who is this guy? And I don't think
Yeah.
I want to work for this kid that is just stepping into the role. And so that was the biggest lead up to it, is making
Yeah.
sure that employees trusted me and knew that I was going to do what was right for them, and still do that today. And now step out of it a little bit more. I still go to stores, not quite every day, but it's hard for me not to go to one. Um,
Yeah.
and I'll do annual reviews with employees, and we have a management and training program that I handle the final test when they're testing out of the program to become what we call an associate manager, who's just basically then waiting in the pipeline for the next store manager role, if that's what they want to take. And I really
Awesome.
enjoy going out and doing those things. And I'm pretty data driven. I have a lot of spreadsheets that I track and try to project where we're going, and how we are tracking this year versus last year and whatnot. And so stepping into those annual reviews with store managers and with associate managers, and showing them all the data and showing them, here's where you've come, and how do we grow from here, and how do we make it better. Maybe you
Right.
need to improve, the store's not doing well, so how do we do that? Or me more asking them, like, okay, you're one of the best stores we have, you tell me how you're doing it. Like, I see the numbers on the sheet, but how are you doing this? I need to take this, bottle it up, and take it to the next store. And that's been
Right.
really fun for me as I step more on that side of things and less on the, selling Mrs. Smith a washer dryer in the store.
It's got to be crazy when you start talking to somebody and they're like, this guy's the new guy in the room. And like, look, I was doing this in my diapers. Okay. You need to calm down. Talking about, getting into all this and all the tradition, all the stuff that you've done and going to do. I love it. I love the nuance. I love bringing the technology into it, because one of the big things that the technology brings is the advent of information like we've never had before. It was just so hard to gather that information as it used to be versus it is now. You can kind of consolidate, put it all together and go, I can show you trends from the last 3 years. I can show you when you sell more, when you sell less, what products are sticking longer than you might think that they do. Now that doesn't sell. Oh yeah, well it's got a stick rate of 6 months minimum versus something that can come back in every 2 weeks. The COD affects things, the longevity of it affects things. What's the payout rate on these things? Well, let's figure it out. All those things really make a difference. So it's really awesome to hear about all that. But now that we go into this Thanksgiving era, now we're here in that month. What's Ace doing? What is Ben doing, and what's Ace doing for the Black Friday holidays? What's your sales pitch on all this?
We did two new things this year, that I won't take credit for them entirely, but I helped carry them across the finish line to say, let's try it. I've been working with Mike Tissett a lot as I've been, stepping into this role, and since I've been back, and he's a guy that you can't talk to enough. You can't learn enough from him in the conversation
You're
that you
right.
have.
Right.
And one of the things that he said, that one of the last times I talked to him was, one of the questions that people ask themselves is, oh, well, what if somebody pawns that? What if we step into the jewelry space and they steal it, or they pawn it, or they, like, what if all these bad things happen? And since I had that last conversation with him, the question that he asked at the end of all that is, what if it works? What if it
Yes.
works? Like, what if it's one of your new core business? What if jewelry becomes one of the things that you go, how did we ever not do that? And for Ace, they made the decision before I came back. But I think one of the things for us that is that what if it worked moment was tires. It was, okay, well, tires are scary. We're not going to get into it. How do you repo tires? And then it worked. And tires is a huge piece of our business. And what if we wouldn't have done it because it worked so well? So to get back to your question, what are we doing this Black Friday? The two new things that we did, one of which was 7 months same as cash that we used to offer on Black Friday for anything in the building. This year, you look at Target, you look at Walmart, you look at these big, box stores, their Black Friday doesn't look like Black Friday anymore. it's Black November. Like it's the whole month long, and they're doing this sale the entire
Isn't that so true?
and so
Yeah.
we did 7 months same as cash all month long. There's no the only parameter we had was there was a bottom dollar to it, but it was way lower than it typically is. And so everybody gets 7 months same as cash on practically every agreement that we're writing this month. The other thing that we did, how do we keep a Black Friday? Like, okay, so does that mean that we're just leaning away from Black Friday and we don't want Friday and Saturday to be one of the biggest weekends of the year? So what we did is we brought in a 65-inch TV that we're going to make nothing on, and sell that practically at cost to our client, so that I mean, I even looked it up on what Amazon's selling it for. They're selling it for $150 more than us. And so that's our Black Friday sale. We won't make a dime on the TVs that we sell, but that's what, I made as we were having these conversations between my dad and Frank, who's our chief strategy officer, but we were talking about it, and I I want that experience to be where they got the best deal, that like they got a better deal than they could have if they would have sat on their couch and ordered it from Amazon. So I want that experience to then be what carries them forward and go, oh, I got a really good deal on that. I got a 65-inch TV for $8.99 a week. Like I paid it off for
Jeez.
$409, right? Like I can't get that deal anywhere else. And so then the bet behind that is when their refrigerator stops making ice or stops cooling and they come in to get us, they know that they're going to get a similar deal on that refrigerator. It's not going to be a Black Friday blowout where we sell it at cost, but it's going to be the same thing. They know that we want to take care of them and have that exciting special that gets clients to come in after Thanksgiving and buy that TV, because we're only making that TV available Friday and Saturday. If you don't get it those days, you're not getting it at that price. So those are
So
the
Ben, I
two
just want you to
reasons.
know, let's see the time now. So I just want you to know, I live in Florida, so you're gonna have to deliver that TV because I'll be there to pick one up on Saturday morning. It's a great deal.
You'll get a
Come on,
great
Anthony,
deal
that's
on the
not a great
TV.
deal. That's a
The
great
delivery
deal.
fee is
God.
going to be a little higher, though.
Pete, you're a couple states away. You can expect it December. So that's awesome. Hey everyone, it's Pete Shau here from the RTO Show podcast, and I want to tell you about a company that's making a real difference in the rent-to-own space. Wow Brands. I've seen firsthand how they approach marketing. And let me tell you, it's not just about ads. Wow Brands builds complete digital ecosystems designed specifically for the rent-to-own industry. Their e-commerce and lead generation strategies are built to bring in qualified leads. And did I mention that they are actively working with the rent-to-own industry while also being members of APRO and TRIB? Listen, these folks are passionate problem solvers. They don't just slap something together, they design, build, and scale the kind of digital retail tools your business needs and your customers actually want. So if you're serious about growing, reach out to Wow Brands at wowbrands.com. I trust them, and I think you will too. You know, we were going to talk about that, and you kind of covered a whole lot of it. I mean, yeah, there's a lot less going on, I think, on the actual day of. You know, we still call it Black Friday for a lot of different reasons, but I don't. I think we started it the same time as a lot of other people, and they were like, "Yeah, we can't save this all for one day," because I've seen the traffic on that Friday, and I think it came from that. Is like the traffic on the cycle that we've seen in the last few years is that the Friday is not really pulling in as much as we did. It's really a month-long thing. And honestly, it drags into December because we always have to kind of like tweak it going into December, so it's not the same thing. But I mean, it just doesn't show the same. You know, it used to be the door swings are crazy. Now it's, you know, what's coming up online, and are you ready for the next email? You're ready for the next hit that you know, that thing that we have to do is really, and I don't want to say sit around and waiting for it because we always got to advertise for it, but like we have to be ready when the internet, when that email goes off and says, hey, you have a lead here. Somebody just posted, you got to jump on it. And you've got to be able to take them off the market right off the bat. I don't think it'll be that hard with an $8.99 TV, but you know, I can tell you right now, I mean, you probably got a foothold on that one. So that's awesome. But you guys are doing this for the month. You have a great deal. You've obviously done some inventory planning and some other things to make your weekend very good as opposed to the entire month as well. What are some of the other things that, because, you know, one thing that I noticed is that Ace is involved in the community. What are some of the community things that happen during the holidays with Ace Rent Own?
We do every year. We do a wish list, so that clients can say, like, you know, if whatever is a need in their life. So, you know, my mother just had surgery, and so now she's going to need a mobility scooter, or she's going to need a walker, or a, like, what's a need that's in your life that you haven't figured out how you're going to fulfill yet. And so they're able to submit those leads, or those needs, I should say, or wants, and then we'll pick one of those clients and give it away, whatever it is that they want us to order, even if it's something we don't sell typically, like a walker. We don't. You're not coming in seeing a walker on our show floors, but we'll go out and buy whatever it is that you need and fulfill that, Christmas wish for our clients. And I think it's one thing that I've thought of as we're coming into this Christmas season and I'm more involved in that planning. How can we expand that to be where we can help more people and touch more people's lives? Because, picking one is great. What if we could pick 10? It starts to run into the P&L still matters, and you need to make sure that you're taking care of the business and the clients all at the same time. But expanding that on what can we give back to the community is really important. And one thing that we do for our stores and continue to do more, I try to empower store managers and their staff. You tell me, like, is there a little league team that you want to sponsor? Is there a community event that you want to get involved in, a donation that you want to make for somebody's silent auction to help pay for their uncle's surgery? Like, tell me what your community needs, and then we'll see if we can make it happen. And so that comes from in our industry. We have quite a few stores in the 2 metro areas in Nebraska, but we serve small town communities. That's the bulk of our business, is small town communities. And so when you take care of somebody's neighbor in a small town, it has a huge impact on that community. And
Yes.
I don't know what somebody in McCook, Nebraska needs unless the staff out there tells me, hey, our client said that their uncle just had surgery and now they're doing a fundraiser to try to get, those expenses paid for. I would never know that from sitting in corporate in Lincoln. Right. So having the staff tell me, will you tell me how we need to get back to your community? And then we'll do as much as we can to make it happen.
Is there going to be a Ben Claus riding around? Are you going to be riding around like some kind of red Camaro with a sack full of goodies? Come on, tell me about it. We can talk about that off air. I'm just saying. So, it sounds like you're very dialed in to a lot of what's going on in the community, and I love those things. Is there any traditional things that you do for maybe the employees? Is there something that they get out of this the Christmas season? Do we walk around with a sock full of coal? How does it work?
Yeah, we do our Christmas party right around Christmas. It's I think on the 20th this year, and so we do that Christmas party, and along with that we do giveaways at the Christmas party. So you show up, you get some door prizes that are T-shirts and little things that they
Awesome.
A polo to wear to work every day, stuff that people need and want. But we also do the big thing that we've done for years and years and years is my dad will do the Price is Right. And so we call up, employees or spouses, everybody puts their name in when they come. And so we draw out of a hat and say, who's going to come up on stage? And then we play the Price is Right. And we'll wheel a 65-inch TV or a electric scooter or like something fun. We'll pull that up and do a Price is Right with it, closest to retail, but not over. And whoever guesses that gets to take it home. And so they get.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And we also
that's awesome.
At that same time, we do give backs for tenure of employees, and basically the longer they've spent with us, the more money that they have as their gift. But we don't do you've been with us 10 years and so you're going to get a watch, or you've been with us 20 years and so you're going to get a necklace, and like the commemorative plaque or something. We let them choose. We say, you've been with us X amount of years, and so you have X amount of dollars to spend. And it's pretty cool to see that a lot of employees will fill that. Let's say they have $200 to spend for their tenure. They say, well, I want a Lego set, and I want a play kitchen, and I want a toddler bike. And it's like, well, you don't want that, Mr. District Manager. You're filling all your kids' needs with your 10-year gift that you're getting. And so that's pretty cool to see that what they put on their wish list of what they want for their tenure, prize or whatever you want to call it, is pretty cool to see what they choose. And we do awards too, like, collections manager of the year, store manager of the year, all those things too, to recognize the employees that are going above and beyond. So I think that our employees really look forward to the Christmas party and have a good time with it, because it's equal parts of, I might go home with a 65-inch TV and I might win store manager of the year. I'm a finalist for it. So we try to make that a really fun event.
And I get my kid's Lego set. I love it. That is amazing. That's good. That's really good. So, like, give me some tips. Okay, what is some tips to make Black Friday worth it? Like, what should a store focus on if I'm trying to make it worthwhile? What is the balance between remembering that there are still collections to do at that point in time, but you don't want to not focus on sales because this is one of the biggest sales holidays of the year? What are some of the things that we can focus on, or that you focus on, or that you say, you know what, this is 3 or 4 things that we just cannot forget and we have to do on Black Friday?
Well, I think one of it is leading up to Black Friday. We have this TV special that, we've mostly kept under wraps because we don't want to sacrifice a TV sale today for, them waiting for Black Friday for it. So
Right.
that's a really fine balance to walk. But then once it's go time, how do you get those clients? They're not swinging through the door. They're not waking up at 1 a.m. any morning and like waiting in line to go Black Friday shopping like they used
Right.
to. So how do you get those people in the door? And the thing that I've talked to stores about this year, you don't need to get them in the door. Get them on the phone and say, I have a TV that I'm selling for $400. I have a TV that's $899 a week. Tell your brother about it. Tell your sister about it. Like, you need to get on the phone and talk to people about what sales you have in the store, and then schedule the delivery. They never even need to come through the door. And those should all be our current clients. Like, why are we giving away a TV at cost? Yeah, we might want to win a new customer with it, but I would way rather take care of a customer that's been doing business with us for 30 years that's going, oh my gosh, this is the best deal I've ever gotten here in all the time that I've been with you guys. And so you want to do both of them, but it's the thing that I've been trying to get our company to do more and more of, is that sales are over the phone and sales are via text and sales are via email. They're not coming through the door. And so don't necessarily just ask yourself, how do I make Black Friday busy in the store? It could just be that you and all your colleagues are busy on the phone, and it's not, I've got 10 people waiting in line at the counter to write up an
Right.
agreement like it used to be. It's all over the phone. It's all online, and how do we get that excitement drum up? And some employees have been really excited to talk about this TV. And I've always had to caution them of like, I want you to, but just make sure that you're not selling a
Right.
TV today so that you can sell one tomorrow.
Right, right, right. Be careful. Ben, now that I look at it, I've got to be there, next Friday, and I've got to be there December 20th. So I just want you to know, if you would pop in and I start giving you, hey, that's $500. I'm just saying, I don't know how I'm going to get back to Florida, but so if you had to give advice, somebody advice on a Black Friday, and you're saying, this is one of your store managers coming to you, and what's the best bit of advice you think you can give them for a Black Friday sale and to make it the most successful that they can, knowing what you know now, that, it's a little bit different. The door swings are a little bit slower. You are going to see more people online. You are going to see more people on the phone. But you always still want to dress up your showroom, right? You always want to be you want to put all best foot forward. What's the best advice you would give?
I would say that it's work with people on their down payments. I know that right now, Christmas time is what we're getting into. That's what the Black Friday kicks off. And everybody's bills get tight during Christmas time because they're buying all these Christmas presents, and Christmas season is just expensive. And so, like you said, we still have to remember that we have to collect on the back end of this. And so make sure you're making a good decision that the client can afford long term, that it's not somebody that's just going to give us $10 down and we will never see them again. We have to make good decisions, but make sure you're working with clients. I mean, it's in that training program I talked about of the management training. Don't lose their business over a client or over a down payment. If a client says, hey, how much do you need down for this? The answer is, I'll work with you. I'm not going to lose your business. What were you thinking you
Right.
wanted to put down? Like, don't say $200, because then they're going to go, oh, okay, well, I'll be back later. I don't need $200. I'll work with you. And so, especially that on Black Friday, getting clients what they need in their house. The goal is to get the product in their house so that they can start to enjoy it, especially now when bills are tight. And we also bring in some things we don't typically sell. Like, we'll bring in kids' toys and some of those smaller items that they're not our core business all year long, but we bring those in. And so help your clients do the shopping for their kids, that they're wondering, like, I'm going to have to go to Walmart and fill my cart with $300 worth of kids' toys. I can't do that.
Right.
Well, we can help them with that too. Do those special orders. Have clients tell you what they want. I want this specific Darth Vader Lego set that's at Walmart. Well, we'll go out and get it for you, and then you can make payments and take care of your kid on Christmas through us. And so, driving that unique business around Christmas time is something that usually we're wondering how we sell tires and washer dryers, and that's what we do all year long. But some of this season is, how do we sell a Lego set? Some of those
Well, I tell you right now, Ben, Ben, you sound like you've been there before. The Darth Vader set. I'm just letting you know right now. That's the set. So, in closing, man, I want to know, because you did the hot show, right? Didn't you do the hot show recently? How did that feel? To take over, and I want to say take over Dad's spot, but that's something that he has done. They've made that. They've literally made that. You got to do it this year. Are you doing it again? And how did it feel?
It felt really good. I am doing it again this year. I think the plan is to slowly have me do it more.
That's it.
And
there you go.
It was nerve-wracking, not because I necessarily get nervous in front of a large room of people like that, but it's going back to, I know the shoes that I'm filling, and you walk around the show floor, like not just the hot show, but you walk around when you're filling all your orders the next day, and everybody that sees my dad walking down the aisle is screaming "sold, sold, sold" at him. How do I fill those shoes? It's what everybody gets excited about that hot show, because it's really fun. So let's make sure I don't drop the ball on that. We got to keep it fun and engaging, and keep the excitement high. That's the hard part to do, is fill those shoes that he built. Like you said, the hot show, he was the first one on the mic. Like that was part of it was all created with him in tow. And so how do I pick that up, and just the goal is just keep it as good as it was. Then we'll worry about maybe making it better. That's almost impossible, but don't let it falter.
There you go. I have a lot of faith in you, man. It was great to see you up there. I'm glad that we're going to see you again. We're going to go into the quick question shout out real quick. And I just want to get some things out to you before we close it up. Turkey or ham for Thanksgiving?
Well, the short answer is both, but if I had to pick one, it's probably ham, which is unpopular, I think.
I'm with you. We're the unpopular guys. All right. Best advice that your father's ever given you?
That's really hard. I think one thing that I was just thinking about the other day, and that it's actually advice that his father gave him, and then he gave me. And it's when you get upset, somebody, whether it's a client, it's a customer, it's a friend, it's somebody in the grocery store parking lot that does something that upsets you, and then it has the potential to ruin your whole day, where you keep thinking about it and going back to it. And the phrase that they use is 10 minutes past the taillights. That's how long you get to be upset about whatever happened. As soon as their taillights have been up over the horizon for 10 minutes, it's time to just move on with your day and make it a great day again, like you were doing before they ever stepped into your realm for the day. So 10 minutes past the taillights is something I try to think about when you're in your red zone in your head, and you're like, how did I let that conversation go that way? Or they just called me whatever name they called me under the sun, and having that be like, right. Okay, it's been 10 minutes, get over it, move on. Don't let it ruin your day.
I like that. 10 minutes past the taillights. Anthony, we're gonna have to use that one.
Like that.
All right. Christmas tradition that your family feels is quite unique.
Okay. It is something we changed. So when my grandmother passed away, our Christmas tradition on my dad's side of the family was always to go over to her house and do the traditional Christmas. And we've changed that over the years. Since she passed away, we started to get together and do the gift exchange, and it just didn't ever feel the same. And so where that's evolved now is we go to Dave and Buster's on, whatever Christmas weekend we get together for our family get together. We don't really do a gift exchange. We just go to Dave and Buster's and play whack-a-mole and, shoot hoops and, just have a fun time.
Shoot Dad's eyes out, baby. That's it, Dad. Take that. That's what you get for giving me the wrong answer on The Price is Right. Oh, that's awesome. Best book you've read this year?
Well, I'll tell you two things. One is a book that I'm reading that's called Behave. It's probably twice as thick as the Bible, and it's a really struggle for me to read, because it's like basically a neuroscientist book of like how the brain works and how human behavior functions. And it's a slow read for me. I've been reading it all year, and I need to take breaks from it because I'm not smart enough to read it. And so I need to take a break. And so one book that I've gone to that's been suggested to me for years and years is How to Make Friends and Influence People. I never read it. I always heard about it, but I'm about halfway through that one, and I'll tell you, it is probably the best book that I've read this year.
It is an
such
amazing
simple
book.
Advice that it gives you that it's like, I somewhat think about this, but I hadn't landed the plane on that thought. And it's just easy to, to carry forward into your life with the small nuggets of advice that book gives.
Well, it's crazy because that book was written a very long time ago, and it is still very relevant till this day. It is very relevant. It's a great book. So I got to know, I need a sound bite. I would love to get you saying sold, sold, sold. Is that something that we can do? Can we do that?
Yeah, we can do that. All right.
Anthony, we good? Let's do it, baby. Let's do it.
So we are sold, sold, sold.
That's awesome, man. That was great. Listen, I appreciate you guys being here with me and Ben Leach today, the COO of Ace Rent in Nebraska, doing an amazing job. I love that you're here, Ben. I really appreciate it. Guys, if you guys have any questions, please reach out to the show at pete@the RTOshowpodcast.com. That is an amazing place to reach me at. You can also go on the website at the RTOshowpodcast.com, see what we're doing, the shenanigans that I get into. You can hit me up on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. And now YouTube, where you're going to see this. Please make sure you subscribe so that you can see everything that's going on. Ben, thank you so much for being on today. I really, really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having
Tell
me.
Dad I'm glad he let you out of the stores just long enough to talk to me a little bit. I do appreciate that. And I want to tell you guys, we enjoy you this holiday season. Thank you for spending some time with us. Make sure that you do your best for Black Friday, because there's a lot of people, like Ben says, there's some clients out there who really need it. Let's take care of them, do what we got to do. And I will tell you guys, as always, get your collections low to get your sales high. Have a great one.